Elect, soon to be president, and he does favor some fundamental overhaul to the Affordable Care Act. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think the changes do need to be made. I don't think there's any question. The problem that we've been dealing with here in Washington over the last 6 years is that there have been over 60 attempts to undo the entire law without replacing it. Really no thought whatsoever from the Republican side of the aisle to replace or to fix or to help make it even better law. I think we Democrats would have been open to that, but it has simply been about repealing Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act without replacing it. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Right now they own this entirely. Whatever changes they make to this is going to be on them. And so, look, for the American people, we hope that what changes do come about are positive ones to make it an even more affordable and an even better quality health care insurance is provided for the American people.
But you count the votes really well. Is there any question but that they're going to have their way, whatever that is, in fundamentally redoing Obamacare?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. The president and Republicans now are talking about the good things they like about it. The fact that you keep your children on your plan until they're 26 years of age, that the cap on lifetime expenditures is lifted. There's no longer a lifetime cap. The fact that people with pre-existing conditions can no longer be discriminated against, that there are wellness visits. I heard you talking before about that. Keeping people healthier earlier in life so that later in life they're not dealing with some of those diseases. Those are the sweets. Those are the good things. To get there, you need to eat your vegetables, and that's where the Republicans have had a problem. They don't like the pay-fors. They don't like the fact that none of this can be free. How do we do this in a holistic way to make sure that everyone who didn't have an opportunity to have insurance in the past now has it? That's something the Affordable Care Act has provided for the American people. Now it's up to them. They want to change it. If they break it, they own it.
So one last question on this, just to get to specifics. You have a gentleman, Mr. Price, one of your colleagues, who has been nominated and likely to be the new head of HHS. He has a proposal, and it includes really delegating a lot of this to the states, giving them block grants, letting them decide how to run it. Is that going to happen?
Well, it's interesting you say that because we haven't seen any proposal. They have not included us in anything. The only way we hear about anything is by listening to the media, and I appreciate you sharing that with me this morning. I'm on the same committee as Mr. Price, the Ways and Means Committee, and we haven't had any participation whatsoever over the past few weeks in this. What I can tell you that any diminishment of Medicaid will fall to the states, and that will mean that either they will reduce coverage or they'll have to increase taxes in some way, property taxes and other taxes alike. I think my Republican colleagues are coming to understand that now. So I do think this block grant notion, I think, is ludicrous. I think block granting Medicare is privatization of Medicare ultimately, and I fear ultimately the elimination of Medicare. And I think that is really the wrong way to go.
So, Congressman Crowley, there will be a number of these major issues that end up, frankly, within your jurisdiction because you're on Ways and Means. Things like tax reform, things like infrastructure spending and things like that. Do the Democrats, have they come together and have a strategy about how to deal with the new Congress and the new president? We saw a strategy when President Obama was elected, which was basically block and try to make sure he only had one term. Are you going to work with the Republicans, or are you going to try to obstruct?
That's interesting, and I think that many of my colleagues, many who are not here today, because they saw what happened to President Obama, and I think the American people are really turning on to what actually happened, that the Republicans were absent these last 6 to 8 years in terms of cooperating to get things done for the American people. I do think we're developing that strategy. President-elect Trump is a very unknown entity. I think even his own party, his supposed party, doesn't know where he's going to head down the road. We're meeting all the time. We're developing that strategy. The one thing I can tell you is that I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here to remind Mr. Trump that it's not a one-man show. He doesn't control the country entirely, that there is a Congress. We have a role to play and to make sure that we steer this country as well as he does in the right direction.
It certainly is not a one-man show. Absolutely right, Congressman. At the same time, isn't there a choice here between, on the one hand, going tit for tat, if you'll forgive me, Hatfields and McCoys, you did it to us last time, we're going to do it to you this time, as opposed to, no, we're going to find places we can work with you?
I think many people in America would expect maybe that's what we might do. But I think in the end, what Democrats have been about and will always be about is doing the right thing for the American people. Where we can find common ground with our Republican colleagues, we'll meet them there. and with this president-elect. But when we disagree, we will vociferously disagree, as I will. If I don't agree with the way in which the direction of the country is going, I'll be outspoken. I'll be in their face, and I'll be in President-elect Trump's face as well. Let him know when I agree and when I disagree.
Okay, thank you so much, Congressman Crowley. That was chairman of the Democratic Caucus. He is Congressman Joe Crowley. Great to have you with us here today, sir.